All right, so thank you for coming. We appreciate you. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce John Hunt as our speaker this afternoon. So John has been a Dallas County Master Gardener since 2006, 18 years. That's quite the run. And John has been on the Speakers Bureau since the very beginning. So John was inspired by H.S. Stevens, who was the columnist for the Dallas Morning News on vegetable gardening. And John took that love, and he then co-hosted a weekly Garden Talks radio show and many gardening segments on morning TV at WFAA. He has written many magazines, newsletters, and newspaper articles. John, in addition to being an awesome speaker, is a pressed leaf artist. Who knew? So I was quizzing John about this earlier today, and I'm thinking, John, maybe you can hook up with Elaine Webster over there and do something for the auction for the garden tour. Yeah, no pressure. Just a little bug in your ear. There you go. John is also a citizen forester, a member of the Gardeners of America, and a member of the Garden Writers Association. So please give a warm welcome to John as we learn more about organic gardening. Thank you, John.
Today we're going to talk about a subject that is really something else. Organics. I started out doing this program about 8 years ago, and I called it Organics from the Ground Up because it's the soil, stupid. You know, like the economy, it's the soil. That's where we have to start. But as it grew and I added information, I did more research and history and background and came forward and talked about the people who were involved with it, where it came from, why it came from, and where it's into the current part of our psyche. It's unbelievable. And it crosses so many areas that I could probably make a 3-hour presentation out of this if my voice would stay and I could keep my feet going. It is that involved. Organics is, it's always been there, but it's gone through different, waves of involvement. So, what is this organic stuff? That's the label, as you might call it. This came about back in 1990. Well, what is it? What is all this about? Well, it's you feed the soil, you use native plants, you reduce toxic chemicals, sustainable practices, use IPM, integrated pest management, reduce synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and you reduce environmental impact, you recycle, reuse, replace. Well, how do I keep up with that? Well, we're going to talk about the soil, and there's the inhibiting factors to food production, which is a primary thing for us and a lot of other, things that we grow for feed, for animals that we ultimately, of course, eat. And the ultimate limiting factor has always been nitrogen. How do you get nitrogen in the soil? Well, you've got stuff that rots, animal waste, stuff that dies and deteriorates in the soil. You have nitrogen fixing plants like clover and legume beans like that. But that's such a small, infinitesimal amount. The only other really decent way to get it is through lightning, thunderstorms. How the heck does that work? Nitrogen in the atmosphere is N2. It's not N, it's N2. It's 2 atoms of nitrogen bound together. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work or react in the soil. Lightning generates the pressure and the temperature to break that 2 into 1 so it can be then bound to hydrogen or oxygen and precipitate out into our landscape, and we get greenery afterwards. I mean, everybody's seen that. It greens up after a thunderstorm. That's the only other way we get nitrogen. It's an extremely limiting scenario for growing anything. because nitrogen is absolutely critical to, growth that is beyond just the absolute slowest. So nitrogen is 77% of our atmosphere, N2, oxygen 21, argon is 1%, CO2, water vapor is more dominant than carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is less than 1%. So that's what our atmosphere is doing. We're trying to get some of that nitrogen, and that's extremely hard to get. Here's the history of it. Back in 1828, this guy, Friedrich Wohler, he was pioneer of organic chemistry. He discovered how to create industrial urea from ammonia and carbon dioxide under pressure. And urea is one of those things that you can, ammonia is a basic element that you can use to produce nitrogen fertilizer. The organic movement was jump-started by Justus von Liebig. He put forth the theory of mineral plant nutrition. This would come from mineral salts like sodium nitrate and potassium nitrate. A lot of that comes from mines in Chile. In fact, they were at one time they may still be the world's largest producer. Chile was 80% of the world's production in the late 1800s. And the fertilizers that they produced from organic and inorganic nitrates was 60% of their national revenue. Doing research, I came across this. There were a couple of islands off the coast of Chile where seabirds lived, raised and hung out. And bird guano was hundreds of feet thick. There's a guy that said, we need poop. And when Spain tried to annex these offshore islands, and it turned into what we call the poop wars of the Chincha Islands. Can you imagine them harvesting this stuff by hand and loading it into ships? Dry bird poop. And then you go on a very long voyage, because we're talking about the 1850s. It took forever to get anywhere. And you're in a sea, rocking around, and you're smelling bird poop that's getting wet. You're going, but everybody wanted this stuff, because again, remember, the limiting factors for food growth. People were desperate to find anything that would work, because starvation was a constant, an absolute constant. So the bird poop wars of Chincha Islands. In 1856, the U.S. passed the Guano Islands Act. We got into that. We got into the deal. You go, how come we got these islands, Guam and Midway and so forth? Now you know. Poop wars. 13 million tons of bird guano was exported. Because those islands were a millennia of birds pooping on these, and it's everybody wanted to get their piece of that action. It's better than gold, But can you imagine the people who are doing the work on that stuff? The organic industry widely uses urea, a white crystalline solid containing 46% nitrogen. India is the largest producer at 38%. But that's a 46% nitrogen in there. You can't find an organic fertilizer that's going to have that high a rating of nitrogen. That's why they started getting involved with this stuff. You start out with ammonia and you process it from there. Albert Howard, English botanist, that considered by many to be the English father of modern organic agriculture and composting. He advocated the study of forest in order to make farms more like the forest to feed the soil. Feed the soil was the critical item here. That's been the foundation coming forward. Getting organic or mineral fertilizers, whatever, into the soil, because that's the best way to feed the plants. Fritz Haber, he's the guy who invented the process to get nitrogen from ammonia and synthesized it. His buddy Carl Bosch took it from his initial development and commercialized it. So they could take water, methane gas, and air, put it through a process of heat and pressure across the iron catalyst and come out with ammonia, NH3 at the end. It was economical, they could make a lot of it, it was easy to transport, it was revolutionary. And when, in World War I, when we and the British cut the Germans off from their minerals, the phosphates from Chile, this is what they had to rely on, not only to feed their people crop-wise, but also to make munitions, explosives. But of course, there wasn't enough of it, so there's a lot of Germans starved during World War I. Also, Lady Eve Balfour, founder of the Soil Association in Britain, she was teaching all around the world. Here, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, all of the British Commonwealth. Randolph Steiner, founder of the biodynamic approach to agriculture in 24. His advocacy was for compost, cover crops, and rotation of plants and animals. So, I mean, all of this stuff you see now has been brought forward. These are the things we're using in the concept of organics. Jerome Cohen, he was the son of a New York grocer. He grew up on the Lower East Side, had an interest in promoting healthy and active lifestyles that emphasize organic foods inspired by the ideas of Albert Howard. Anybody recognize him? Well, he changed his name. Now do you know who he is? Rodale Press. I mean, if you want to start talking organics, mid 20th century, he is the guy who probably put it all out there in print. And his son, and he popularized the term organic. So here you got them. You got Howard, Rodale, his son, Steiner, Balfour, and others. And anybody know who Norman Borlaug is? Green Revolution back in the 60s. Crossbred to improve grains. He doubled the cereal production in India, Mexico, Pakistan, Turkey. Minnesota, University of Minnesota is where he got most of his degrees and so forth. Go Gophers. I was born in Minnesota. And later on, he started teaching and researching at Texas A&M. The problem he was, and everybody was facing, is cereal grain crops. They grew tall, skinny stems, small grain heads. And what would happen is you'd get ready to harvest them, and unfortunately you get a big wind and a rainstorm, and it would knock them over. So the tall grain was good because light didn't get through, so you didn't have a lot of weeds. But as soon as that thing fell over in the wet dirt, that was it. Anybody know what the term is for grain falling over? Lodging. What the hey? Where'd they come up with that one? But so what he did was he hybridized wheat and rice and so forth, lowered the stems, thickened them up, and put bigger grain and more grain seeds on those heads, so it could increase production. That was great in a lot of ways, but of course, wheat, you've got 3 elements to the wheat seed: the germ, the endosperm, and the brand. The thing that got bigger was the endosperm. The brand and the germ didn't get bigger. Anybody know why we always eat white bread so much? I mean, you take grain and you throw it into a mill and it comes out, you grind everything up. It takes more effort to get the white, take the brand and the germ out. You got to go through more process. Why do we do that? It was a sign of wealth. If you could afford white bread, you are more wealthy than the average because whole wheat, whole grain was cheaper to make. So you bought the cheap stuff. But white milled bleached flour was more expensive. You were richer. It was a status symbol. If you want to really know the story of Norman Borlaug, it is a very fascinating read. Anybody know who this guy is? Jerry Baker. The self-proclaimed America's master gardener. No, he was never a master gardener. But he did write a lot of books. He was on radio and television. He had programs, and he endorsed his grannies and his aunties, home do-it-yourself, beard, soap, ammonia, tobacco, mouthwash. I remember what that mouthwash thing was about. Maybe it was going to make his breath smell good while he was talking on the radio. I don't know. But all of it had had nuggets in there. Ammonia, ammonia. Fertilizer. Soap will kill bugs. Beer attracts slugs. Tobacco, other than putting a little bit there between your cheek and gum, it has got nicotine that'll kill bugs. So it's all there. It's just that it's kind of takes a lot of mumbo jumbo to get it working. Anybody know who this guy is? Old Natural Howard, the doctor of dirt. He's born in Pittsburgh, Texas. Got a radio show, newspaper columnist, organic. He is a bachelor's in landscape architecture. Originally, he started out working at Club Corps as an assistant golf course superintendent. He's written a lot of books. But it's kind of like Jerry Baker. He's got a self-proclaimed title that I don't know. There's no PhD for that, and I would have liked that. Maybe in geology and maybe some biology and some other characteristics were thrown in there too. I know Howard. I used to use him doing programs for me when I was with the Men's Garden Club, and some of the other things. And we did some work out at his garden shows years ago when he had a garden show out in Arlington. Okay, it's the soil. We absolutely the soil. I was born in Minnesota, raised in Wisconsin. A lot of the soil we had was alluvial. It was stuff that was ground up by the glaciers and moved around. So it's pretty decent stuff, easy to work with. Reasonably thick or deep. This is like the kiosk that you would go to the mall. You walk into the mall and there's a kiosk there and it says, "You are here, and if you want to go to this store, that store, this is where you go to get to there." Well, this is your soil kiosk. You wish you were down here, or maybe a little over here, or maybe some combination thereof, but you're there. You're stuck. You're stuck there. And you don't want to you cannot take any of that and put that on there. Because there's not enough of that is ever going to change that. No amount of sand can change the black clay. But it is one of the finest to produce crops. From Mexico to Canada and beyond, the Great Plains, the Blackland prairies are superb. The only area in size and style that matches is the Asian steppe, which is Ukraine and Russia. And are they in a little bit of turmoil? There's some areas also in South America and other places, but it's pretty limited. There are people on this planet that would die to have what we've got. Where you're in the Middle East, you're in Africa, you're in Australia and other places, they would love to have this because they can't produce enough food. Their soils just won't do it without massive inputs of water and synthetic fertilizer. It's great, and this is the soil food web. You put in the plants, you put in the organic matter, you have first level is the photosynthesis, and the second level is the decomposers that decompose your rotting material, and then you got the third, fourth, and fifth level who are the predators on all that stuff. And you're feeding all of this. This is the way we improve our soil naturally. Soil layers, we've all probably had this information. What you like is, the important aspect here is the A profile. And this is what, of course, you've got grains of sand and you've got clay particles, and that would be about the right size of a sand particle, and you couldn't even see the clay particle. You have to use a microscope to see it. And it's just like that. That's why it's expansive when it's wet, and it compressed when it's dry, because it's like a deck of cards. And the water gets in between it, it expands it, because the water will push the layers apart. And of course, we don't get that effect that I used to get when I lived in Minnesota, Wisconsin, because in winter the ground would heave because the water in the soil would freeze and expand, creating a natural airspace. You don't have to worry about aerating your soil. Mother Nature did it by freezing the water. But for us, that is a problem for us. Biomass. The importance of organic gardening is biomass in your soil. And it increases in the surface and it decreases the lower you go. So top dressing or working in compost and other organic material is absolutely critical to improving our soil, because compost improves the texture, buffers the pH, does all these great things. And this is what we're looking at as far as a soil composition: mineral particles, air, water. Here's your organic matter. Organisms, the microflora, roots, and then your humus. And you're trying to add as much of this as you can add to it, because you want to feed those microbes. That's what then organic matter is, what those guys are going to eat. Soil is our skin, and without it we really wouldn't be here. So all fertilizer actually comes from plants in the beginning. You have water, carbon dioxide, sunlight turns it into glucose and oxygen. There was a time there was no oxygen. We had no oxygen. It didn't exist on Mother Earth. Cyanobacteria came along out of I don't know where. The chlorophyll molecule developed, and all of a sudden oxygen was generated over millions of years, and it was a poison to a lot of the existing creatures on the earth at that time. The seas were brown, not blue, because there was so much dissolved iron in the oceans. But when oxygen came along, the iron all rusted and precipitated out. Organic fertilizers, sunlight, water, CO2, that is the miracle of the photosynthesis molecule right there. Creates sugar and oxygen. It comes from plants that, of course, can turn into manure. Synthetic fertilizers, you take methane, water, air, steam, pressure, run it over a catalyst, and you get ammonia, which you can turn into nitrates and urea. Organic comes from manure, plants, animals, minerals, natural urea. Synthetic comes from carbon hydrocarbon source, methane predominantly. And the biggest production of methane for fertilizer manufacturing is Russia and Ukraine. Again, they're kind of having a little problem over there, which is affecting us. Where this stuff comes from? Manure from cow, poultry, sludge. We're going to talk about sludge a little bit later on. Protein from different plant sources, natural worm castings, potassium and sodium nitrates. Processing comes, we can get it from urea. You can get a lot of stuff, coffee grounds if you're near Starbucks. You can pretty much drown yourself in that stuff. Hoof and bone meal, ammonia, synthetic hydrocarbon source. They used the P, so they had to come up with something else for the, they said K, we'll use K. I don't know why. There is no K in that. There is no letter K, but I guess that's again like, lodging, I don't know. Secondary, calcium, sulfur, magnesium, then trace minerals. Anybody ever heard of this stuff called azomite? Well, azomite's a made-up name. It's A to Z and additional minerals and essential elements. They took the first letter of each one of those words and turned it into an acronym of all those words, azomite. It's a silica-based volcanic product that was in a shallow sea that they mine in Utah. Organic matter. You're trying to get carbon into the soil to create that humus and humic acids. Compost, mulch, leaf mold, coffee grounds, kitchen waste, biochar. The goal is humus in the soil. And then you got the pH. We are here. It's extremely hard to get anywhere below that except for small areas for specific growing. Like you want to grow blueberries, you're going to have to get that pH down really low. But we're in here, and so we get this thing called iron deficiency in some of our plants. And so compost again can help buffer that. Now, pH, explain. What's the P and what's the H? I don't anybody know. Why would they use a P and an H for, you got acid and alkali, or acid and base. Why is it called AA or AB? Potential of hydrogen. A measure of the acidity of alkalinity of a solution equal to the common logarithm of the reciprocal of the concentration of hydrogen ions or moles per cubic decameter of solution. Would somebody tell me that in real simple terms? The more hydrogen ions you've got is the key. What is a toxic chemical? Well, anything can be a toxic chemical, really. I mean, you drink enough water, it'll kill you. So anything can be toxic. Oxygen, too much CO2, ozone, whatever, water, methane, air, what does that count? Is that toxic? I don't know. Lethality, persistent, synthetic. This is what we're really more concerned with, I think. And here's the labeling. Did you know that there is a poison label on your toothpaste tube? In 1997, FDA said, you got to put a poison label on toothpaste. But the fluoride in there, they, you use a pea size, and it says don't swallow it. And they're really worried about kids with these stuff that tastes like bubble gum and this and that, and they got fluoride, and they squeeze out some horrendous amount on there, and then they've got these stuff in there that makes it foam and so forth. If it tastes that good, kids are going to swallow it. Not good. But anyway, the labeling on products is, it's danger, poison, danger, could be severe, warning, moderate, caution, slightly. So you got to know these terms. LD50, everybody know what LD50 is? Dosage of a product, an amount that will kill 50 of the subjects. So that's one of the gauges they use for toxicity. And here's a really interesting story. The Poison Squad. It's the genesis of the FDA. There was a guy that wrote a book about the Chicago meat packing. Anybody remember who that guy was? Upton Sinclair. Yeah. He thought it was horrendous. The guy that was involved with the Poison Squad testing stuff, he's the guy who preceded him with all the scientific information. And Upton Sinclair was the guy who wrote the book that blew up the whole process. But this guy was the guy who really did the groundwork. So it's we really got to read the labels. Look it up, check the internet, find out what's in the product. Part of our program is, and this is something I want to get into, is integrated pest management. Because I'm on a couple of blogs and people are just throwing, they don't know what it is. They don't look it up, and it's just like, spray it with this, spray it with that, use water jets, I don't know. You want to know what is the acceptable pest level. If it's not a problem, ignore it. Do cultural practices, hygiene, you monitor it, then you use mechanical, biological, and at the last resort, chemical. And again, we got another website here. You got your bug ID, and you can get disease identification with the master gardeners. What we breathe, the primary here is nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and then CO2 is down here with helium and krypton and, helium. Organic criteria, okay? 1990, Office of Food, what was that? OFPA, I can't remember the acronym thing there. But it's no prohibited inputs for 3 years. In other words, that land had to be either left alone or you had to grow it with no pesticides, herbicides, etc., unacceptable for 3 years. And then to be able to be called organic, it had to have 95% organic inputs. Thing that's scary is, what is that other 5% that they do allow? I'm not sure. You always look on the label and it says other. Other is kind of scary. To get the label made with organic X, Y, Z, whatever it is, you have to have 70%. For animals, no hormones, no antibiotics. And then this was then a new organization, National Organic Program, was created in 2000 for monitoring purposes. But then, only until last year have they updated the original 1990. They more than 20 years to get something updated. Now you want to know about what happened about organics. There's an article that was written, The Great Organic Food Fraud of 2000. Anybody ever read this article? It's stupefying. There's no way to confirm that a crop is grown organically. It was self-report. Well, you can definitely do a little self-fraudulating there too. This guy, you can look him up, Randy Constant. He exploited trust in a label and made a fortune because he took non-organic and called it organic, and he did this all over the Midwest. He was a farmer and a salesman out of Missouri, and he just went crazy because he was in the industry, he had trust, he had contacts. Read the article in the New Yorker. It's extensive. You wouldn't believe what this guy. They finally caught up with him. He was convicted and sentenced. He was a real family guy, churchgoer, all this stuff. But when he started making all that money, he went over to the dark side big time. He started going to Las Vegas and spending his money on wine, women, and gambling, and he just went down. He's not alive anymore. He never made it to prison. Another documentary you can look up on the internet. Common Enemy. It's a documentary about factory farms in Oklahoma. Sludge and biosolids on croplands. We were talking to you about, I was telling you about organic fertilizer. One of them was sludge. Anybody ever heard of Milorganite? Yeah. It's Milwaukee, organic, municipal.
Sludge.
Yeah. It's what they get in their sewage processing system. There's a problem. Anybody ever, the Guardian wrote this talking about PFAS. Everybody know what PFAS is? The forever chemicals. You ever heard of hex-11 chromium? Exactamundo, the movie Aaron Brockovich. PG&E pumped hex-11 chromium into the drinking water of Hinckley, California. That's still going on. The article really talks about how industrial contaminants are spilled into our sewage system that then gets into the sewage plants and is treated. But they can't get that stuff out. There was a farmer who the government said, yeah, use it, and it was free, and all of a sudden he spread it all over his crops up in Maine. He lost his animals, he lost his business, he lost his farm, he lost his land because of sludge. The government gave it his blessing. You know what the 9 scariest words are in the English language? I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Okay, we've got that. You know, everybody in the 70s, we got the food pyramid, you know? Boy, was this all wrong, huh? Demonized eggs and pork and fat and, you know, lard was bad, all this stuff, you know. God, you're going to die from it. It's cholesterol. Boy, I don't know. I think that's really spawned the commercial food industry. But when you rice, cereal, pasta, bread, crackers, food and vegetable, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good stuff. You know, like I say, demonized eggs and pork. And then what did they do? What did the pork producers do? They've ruined pork. Now it's just, you know, cardboard pork. You know, in order to get away from it being demonized as red, it's the other white meat. Being that I lived in Wisconsin, it was, you know, we wanted, you know, good cheese, dairy. The only problem is it was subsidized, which made it expensive. I love that butter. Whew, that stuff is great. Fats and oils, sweet, salt, that was really minimal. Well, fats and oil, fat's good. The right kind of oils are good. Olive oil, avocado oil, maybe peanut oil. Some of the other oils maybe not so good. Salts and sweets, yeah, that's pretty gnarly stuff. So now the real updated food pyramid. Fruits and vegetables at the bottom, grains next come. Dairy's a lot better off than it was. Meats, great. You got your fats, oils, and then you go up there, your salts and sugars. Did you know that potassium and salt are kind of like, they say, no preservatives. And then you start reading the label and it's got salt and potassium and you go, liars. The salt goes down, the potassium goes up. Everybody ever seen this? This is the website, environmentalworkinggroup.org. Every year they put out the Dirty Dozen. A lot of these are things that you eat whole. Strawberries are one of the worst things I know. I love blueberries in my pancakes, and I'm like, oh boy. And then they've got the Clean 15, and a lot of these things are you peel. Avocados, peas, melons, corn, all, you know, for the majority. So you buy these and grow, if you can, grow the others, or buy them organic. Bisphenol A, that's in your plastics and your can liners. They're trying to systematically get this stuff out because it's one of those, pretty much a forever chemical. What we eat, 3M reached a $10.3 billion settlement over contamination of water systems with the forever chemicals PFAS. DuPont, Chemours, and Corteva sold for $1.18 billion. PFAS, again, Teflon. It took me forever to get my wife to stop using Teflon, stop using aluminum pans, stop microwaving plastic in, PFAS do not break down, can move through the soil, contaminate drinking water. It's even in your bottled water, unfortunately. It's everywhere. Microplastics, PFAS, male fertility has been cut by 50% since 1970. Killer. Okay, I'm getting the hook. Food ingredients, dyes, preservatives, sugars, GMOs. Anybody heard about this guy, Bobby Parrish? He's on the internet. He's a label reader, and that's what I want to know. What's in that? What is that stuff on the label? Well, he has a thing that gives you a rundown on this stuff, and he's got, what's good, what's not so good. It's a good program. I think I like to follow. There's one that's on the internet that gives you, and I've given one to our host for the information. This is toxicity of the chemicals that are being produced by brand name. So if you want to know what they are, this is great. Earthwise Guide to Products Toxicity Rating. This is a collaboration of City of Austin and Texas A&M. Everybody know where to recycle the chemicals? Over on Plano Road? They take almost everything, including some electronics. Okay, organic future is looking very bright. It's the soil, more information, more products, and more help from us. That's it.
We are 23 days and counting to the garden tour. So we're on the home stretch, yay. And really want to thank everybody for all their work on this garden tour, because it takes everybody to make this garden tour a success. And this is really our time that we can really share with the public and share with a lot of people that we don't normally get to talk to, share our public knowledge, do our public knowledge transfer. So this is our chance to do it. So I'm going to talk about some ways that y'all can help also, so to get that way. One thing I do want to do is introduce my fellow chairs for the garden tour. If you guys will stand up back there, because they each have a page on this, but I'm going to present it, but it's their work that put into it. We have Margaret Hransky and Christy Lawrence and Chris Geyer. And then our trusty mentor is Nancy Black. And also, are any of the garden owners, garden managers here? Oh, Monica, of course. Their homes and their gardens are on the tour. Janet D. Smith, thank you very much. So we thank all of them for all of their help. Ticket sales. So we are in full force, out there selling tickets, and definitely need y'all's help with this. This is where everybody can help. So buy your tickets. We would love to see everybody buy a ticket to the garden tour, and then also spread the word about it too. You can spread the word by sending the link. So to get to any of the other, we would love to have everybody buy a ticket, because this is our main fundraiser. But if you are a volunteer and you're just going to the garden that you're volunteering at, you do not need a ticket to get into that garden. But to get into any of the other gardens, you do need a ticket. But you can share this link with family, friends, business associates, and also ask them to spread the word too. So I put the link up there, also the QR code. We put a couple of the flyers on your tables. You can click on that QR code. It takes you directly to the ticket sales. If you go out to the Dallas County Master Gardener website, with a lot of folks' help, we were able to get a sneak peek preview along with the ticket sales All you have to do is click on the logo for the garden tour, and it's right at the very top of the main page. Click on that, it takes you to the preview, and which also takes you to the ticket sales. So it's very easy to get to. So I'd love to have everybody go out and look at that and share the information with folks.
Have the ticket when we go?
Yeah, when you buy your tickets, you will be emailed. But we will also have a master list at each of the gardens. So folks can also, if you don't have that email, they can come to the garden and we'll find their name on the list. And always remember, the maps were sent out with your confirmation email. But the bathhouse is probably the easiest garden to remember. You can go to the bathhouse, and that can be your start of the tour, and you'll get a map that'll take you to the rest of the tour. So if you do forget how to get there, just remember the bathhouse at White Rock Lake. Yes, Monica?
So you'll receive an email from JotForm, and the subject line of the email will state 2024 Garden Tour, ticket confirmation and tour info.
Thank you, Monica. That was a great question. And we keep improving on how this works, but we also have some ideas for the next garden tour, how to make the ticket sales even better, because it is a difficult thing to be able to get the sales, get them communicated to everybody, get the tickets out to everybody. It's a complicated process, especially, we think our computer and our apps are, really handy and user-friendly, but they aren't really. So there's a lot that goes into trying to get that done. So that was a very good question. Thank you. So tickets are $18 prior to the event, $22 at the door. We will be taking cash at the door also. So if folks are wondering about that. If you have any questions on that, feel free to contact me. My email address is up there also. How do we make our money at the garden tour? I think pretty much everybody knows this, but just as a reminder, of course, sponsorships. And we have just an amazing group of sponsors. We've raised almost $20,000 this year in sponsorships. So that is a lot of support, yes, a lot of support in the community, and a lot of folks working on that. And then also the ticket sales is another piece. Our goal is $10,000 in ticket sales. And by the way, our goal on the sponsorships was $12,000. So we, by far, surpassed that, but ticket sales were a little bit behind. We've sold 200 to date, and we need to sell a lot more tickets. There's a lot more sharing that we want to do with the public, so we definitely need to get the ticket sales. And then the other thing is the silent auction. We have 18 so far really nice items in the silent auction. More information will follow on that. So watch for your mark the calendar, watch for the, go to your garden tour link on how to get to the auction. It will definitely end at the end of the day of the event, which will be 5 p.m. on May 18th. I don't know what the start date is. We may start it a few days ahead of time so people can start participating. Definitely share the information. We have some amazing items, handmade quilts. We have a bottle bush or a bottle tree. That's handmade also, an owl house, and that's handcrafted with a camera. But anyway, it's just some really nice items. The garden centers have really come through with some really nice gifts, gift certificates along with plants, and just a lot of fun stuff. So that'll be fun. We will be displaying those at the bathhouse. We'll have a table set up. And each of the gardens will have an information flyer about the silent auction with the link to get to it. So that will be at each of the gardens too, so everybody will know how to get to the silent auction. And we'll try to keep that as something that everybody will be watching for as they're going through the garden tours. I think most of the items will probably be bid on during the tour when people get there and see what's going on. And then fun in the gardens. We have 8 stunning gardens, which are amazing, even by master gardener standards. I mean, these gardens really are truly amazing. They are beautiful. But we also have some fun things we're going to do. We're going to do a scavenger hunt. This is thanks to Margaret. Margaret, let me know if there's anything I need to add here. But we've got a scavenger hunt. She also has created a test your knowledge sheet that has the answers on the back also, that a little more, just kind of fun horticultural facts, that people can answer as they're going through the gardens. And we will have a prize at each of the gardens for the scavenger hunt for people who turn in their scavenger hunt at the gardens. We will have a plant list, of course, at each garden, and the garden owners and Margaret have worked really hard on putting together all of the plants and the information on those plants all in one place. So there'll be a QR code at each garden that visitors will be able to go to, and at each garden they'll be able to click on that QR code and it'll take them to the plant list. And it's really, really informative, very nice. And we will have a few paper copies also at the gardens, as well as laminated copies so people can take pictures of it if they want to as they're going through the gardens. But all the garden owners were like, cannot believe I have this many plants in my garden. You know, it really is kind of amazing. And then, of course, we also will have all the educators in the garden. Every garden will have 2 or 3 educators. Some of them will be speakers, some will be doing hands-on things, or they might be doing demonstrations. So lots of really fun things. You can find this out on the Dallas County Master Gardener website under the preview. So if you click on the Garden 2 logo, you can get to this educator schedule. So definitely share this also to folks that you know would be interested. Okay, so publicity. So Christy has been very, very busy with the publicity end. And hopefully you're seeing things come across on Facebook, Instagram, as well as the Morky calendar, you know, internally. Also the wonderful articles that Alan Reisman, I don't know if he's here today, has been writing on each of the gardens. They are wonderful just to look at and read through. But lots of good history on the gardens as well as just information on them. So definitely here's another, you know, share this link with anybody that you feel might be interested. So if you have any local publications, garden clubs that you think might be interested, this is a really good source of ticket sales just to get the word out. So definitely, you know, let us know or just forward on the link to the garden tour and let them know, hey, if anybody's interested, send it on to their email distribution list. That is an amazing source of tickets to get to people that would definitely be interested in the garden tour. Also, we did do a podcast. Janet D. Smith and myself did a podcast, and it's called What is Happening in East Dallas? And it should be published very soon, within the next couple of days, I would think. But we'll also communicate that out so you can see the podcast, and we'll be sharing it also on Facebook, trying to get as much out of it as we can. But it was fun. It was very informative. It's about, 40 minutes, something like that. Okay, so what in East Dallas is going on? If you put that in and then put in podcast, it'll take you to their list of their podcasts, and you'll be able to get to it. Oh, cool. We'll have to go check that out. That's fun. And then also, D Magazine is going to do a plug for us in May. So watch for that also. So that was exciting. Thank you, Christy, for getting that. And also, Jennifer Bowers isn't here, but it was actually her contact that got us to that one. So anyway, so lots of fun things. Just keep sharing it, because we really just want everybody to be able to enjoy these gardens and come out and visit. And then training. So Chris Geyer has been very busy with the training piece of this, and we are well underway. A lot of the training, some of the training has already been done. There's more scheduled for next week and the week after. Of course, all the docents are being trained. The captains of each garden has a captain. They have been trained already. The welcome desk, we also have runners that will probably be filling in for the welcome desk and the docents. So we also have been we've done safety checks at each of the gardens to make sure we know of any obstacles or anything that needs to be removed or adjusted. That's all taken care of before the tour. So all of that has already been done. So lots of training, and we'd really like to thank everyone who has volunteered for the garden tour in any way, shape, or form. Because like I said, can't happen without y'all. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, we have found that some folks have email addresses that are incorrect on VMS. So please make sure that your email address is correct. This is a good reminder for all of us to do that. Yes, go into your profile and then you can edit it. Thank you. So yeah, that's a good reminder, but as Chris is setting up training, she has found that some of the email addresses are incorrect. And if she's setting up a meeting and you don't get information on it, that's a problem. So just make sure that it's all correct out there. So thank you very much. And then it's just a parting slide. We're very excited about this garden tour and hope that you all are able to come out to it because it's just going to be a really, really nice day. So thank you very much. Oh. And one more thing, if anybody wants, if you have a high visibility yard or if you have a business or someplace that you think would place one of these signs out for us, please, we have some over on the side here. Come see us afterwards. And we also have flyers, and we have, 2 different sizes of flyers. Starbucks are great. The garden centers we've pretty much hit and got everybody. But if you have any businesses, any place you'd like to take a flyer, please take them, because that's the other good way. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Awesome. Okay, well, sorry I missed the talk. But let's see. I basically want to welcome and introduce to you our new Master Gardener Coordinator. Her name is Crystal Odwally. And before I ask her to come up here and tell you a little bit about herself, I do want to, maybe they didn't introduce, okay, that's okay. Okay, I thought there were some slides that had been incorporated. No. At the next meeting, I will explain to you how we are dividing up responsibilities. That was my main intention today, but since I don't have those slides there, I'm going to bring Crystal up here and have her introduce herself. So,
my name is Crystal Duwali. I'm Miss Katarina's new Master Gardener. I don't have anything, I don't think. Thank you. I'm her new Master Gardener Volunteer Coordinator. And a lot of people have been asking me, well, what does that entail? I'm not sure yet, but as she said in the next meeting, she'll explain that, but I'm sure it'll have many different things, but I am here to help you all and serve. What's your background? My background? That's a good question. Well, I'll start. I just moved here from Arizona. I don't know how I ended up in Dallas, but I saw this position, I applied, and now I'm here. I was forced to do a lot of community service for my mom at a young age, but I'm glad she forced me because now I love to serve my community in any capacity. I feel that with volunteering, you meet people where they are, you're able to educate and reach different diverse areas. I graduated from Arizona State University with my bachelor's as a health education and promotion degree. So I'm big on educating. I hope you all can teach me things because I love to learn, and I feel like the saying that I go is you can bring a man fish, but if you teach him to fish, then they'll be able to eat for the rest of their life. So I hope that you're able to teach me so that I can go on and teach others and educate others. And also thank you for what you all do, going out and educating people on gardening. A lot of people think that being healthy is just eating right and exercising, but when I was doing my degree, I learned that through gardening, you can go to different communities and teach them how to produce their own, healthy foods, whereas they wouldn't have access to that. Miss Katarina always tells me to mention my military experience. I don't like to because everyone always says thank you for your service, and I feel like, oh, I'm sorry. I was in the Army. And that is what's going to build my biggest foundation is I feel like everyone has different viewpoints in how they want things done. But in the military, we say one team, one fight. So regardless of what we may feel or how we want things done, as long as we're going towards the main mission and the main goal, that's what matters. So hopefully we'll all be able to work together for the main goal. Anything else? Well, thank you for having me.
Well, good morning. I guess it's afternoon. Excuse me. I bring you greetings from the residents of Juliet Fowler Communities. Fowler was chartered by the state of Texas in 1892, so that means about 132 years of service. Okay, Fowler is an intergenerational community, and we are in the Lakewood area of East Dallas. Yay! Team Fowler, we've got lots of fun folks there. Fowler is celebrating our 20th year for our program. We have more than 30 acres within our community, and that equals lots of garden beds. Okay, Fowler's community is encompassed by wonderful mature trees, garden beds, and tons of container gardens. Fowler's Landscape is a reality orientation for someone who's homebound and they can look out a window and see that there's green leaves on a tree, there's blooming flowers, the grass is green. What do you think they think it is? Summer, right. So that is a big help. We have wonderful opportunities. Fowler has weekly interactions with our residents and our work days. We have independent work availability for as your schedule would allow. And we can lead volunteers from corporations, Boy Scout groups, schools, churches. And what do you get? Yes! Public service knowledge sharing. All right, more pictures of our wonderful team. I have to tell y'all and brag, we have the most talented groups. We are so blessed. We just have never-ending support also from Fowler. Here we are working on some landscape projects. We're creating with our residents as well as master gardeners for new garden plans. This happens to be one of our spring parties, and we have wonderful snacks that we bring, and then we're able to take the residents around for garden tours. We like to adapt to make gardening easy for our residents. Fowler hosts monthly educational classes, and these are going to be able to be considered for your education hours. Here's a container gardening class. Okay, program amenities. We have 16 raised therapeutic garden beds, greenhouse for seeding and growing orchids, a shed and storage areas with most needed equipment, and a certified monarch weigh station. Yay, look at the butterflies. We love it. And this garden happens to be adjacent to 6 or maybe 8 of our raised therapeutic garden beds. And so we've got a lot of good pollination. Plus we've got a peach tree that's loaded with peaches just right around the corner. We have a greenhouse, and it is great for helping to grow the orchids that we share then with the residents in common areas and in their homes. We have sheds and storage areas with most needed tools. Community amenities include a media room for monthly educational programs, life enrichment rooms for indoor gardening and crafts, test kitchens for cooking and baking, Fowler staff. Yay, Laura! Laura, stand up. One of our Fowler staff members, Laura Porting. Laura is very active in our Master Gardener program, and as is her credit card. This is one of our media rooms, test kitchen. Here we are making pesto out of the garden and then sharing with the residents and taking some home too. Lavender sachets, and then we baked a little lavender cake and shared. We have lots of meeting room spaces, lots of gardens. Hello, Elaine. When the weather gets bad, we turn inside. So we do here, for example, is a horticulture craft we're making. And here we're making the old-fashioned paper flowers and talking about the different portions of the flowers, teaching them about that. Making some flower arrangements. Sandra Zelli is our certified horticulture therapist and leads monthly classes. Program goals are related to sensory stimulation in connection with nature through touch, colors, fragrances, and taste. I'm going to add sound so it touches all 5 senses. There's nothing like listening to the wind through the leaves of a tree, catching in a pretty day in sunlight. Participants participate with gross as well as fine motor skills. lots of container gardens and beautiful hands that enrich our soils. Fowler has hundreds of volunteers that are educated by the best horticulture practices. And what's that good for? You bet, public knowledge sharing hours. If you come to Fowler's Impact Day, you can get them all in one day. Here we are preparing for a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout project. Impact Day, does anyone not know what Impact Day is? Deloitte, one of the big accounting firms, brings about 185 employees to Impact Day. And these folks are young guys and girls out of college that don't know you need to take a plant out of the plastic before you put it in the ground. You hand them a caladium bulb and they're like, whoa, this is foreign. Which way is up? She told me to plant it up. So you're needed in a lot of ways. And then you need to teach them about all of the wonderful plants that we're going to be putting in there, mainly perennials. It is June the 7th from 8 to 3, but then we have 2 days prior to that when we're setting up and getting all of our plants delivered and then placing the plants. And we've calculated it out some time ago how many thousands, like lots of thousands and thousands of plants get planted that day. Last year, we had probably about 90 accountants that were gardening. We had, anyway, you add in all the master gardeners that were there, and then you add in our residents, and we had 140 gardeners for 7 hours, making a difference. Rain or shine, Impact Day goes on. We put in more than 1,000 caladium bulbs that day. We touched probably 40 plus gardens. Now, I would love to be able to brag on our Fowler team. Anyone that's in part of the Fowler team or has ever volunteered at Fowler, like at Impact Day, please stand up and maybe we acknowledge you and all of your talents. Yay, come on, don't be shy. Woo! Look at all these folks. Yay! Thank y'all. Your talents really are appreciated, and you truly do make a difference every day. As our residents walk down through our gardens and smell the roses and taste the basil, we just want you to know you do make a difference, and please come enjoy us. We have lots of fun, and plus you might get a margarita afterwards. I do want to say we've got some sign-up sheets over here. So if anyone wants to go to Impact Day, I can, if you give me your email, I will send you the link and you can get signed up and we'll put you to work. Thank you.
What does PKS stand for? Hopefully this is not the first time you've heard of that. So I wanted to give you all an update on public knowledge sharing. Debbie Wood is our director at large who is overseeing outreach activities, and she is the primary driver behind a lot of these activities. So looking at the hours for first quarter of 2024, thanks to Sarah Burke, Leslie Densmore, and Debbie Wood for analyzing this data, and you all have put in 2,323 hours so far in first quarter for public knowledge sharing. And of that, 115 of y'all have met your annual requirement. So give yourselves a round of applause. That is an amazing start. So breaking out the hours that were submitted in VMS for the first quarter of 2024, the largest piece of this pie is legacy. So these are activities that you all have been doing all along and hadn't changed as part of this new requirement. And then there's quite a few other pie shapes in here that I'll go into a little bit more. But I just wanted you to be aware that you really didn't have to change a whole lot just to get your public knowledge sharing hours. So of those pie shapes, We had mentioned the 48%, so that breaks down into Speakers Bureau, Help Desk, the written materials that go out on the website, the consultation team, and school activities. So there's a big portion of the pie right there. And then we also have demo gardens, approved opportunities, garden tour, miscellaneous, and what I wanted to highlight over here is the independent activities. So this seems to be gaining some momentum, and you all have been taking an initiative to go out and do some items on your own, so we thank you. So some of the highlights of the independent activities, a lot of you have been doing either small groups or one-on-one, where you're sharing your knowledge on issues and topics such as turf, shade gardens, drought-tolerant plants, composting, and pollinators. Sometimes it's just a conversation with your neighbor. There's been a couple of HOA engagements where we have a table at HOA meetings or a pop-up class. And it's also been, interactions with fellow shoppers. Go to Home Depot and see someone looking puzzled at what kind of plant to buy. And you might want to tell them, and not that they would have it there, but please don't buy a Chinese privet and put it in. So going forward, we're trying to get some PKS opportunities out there for y'all and take out some of this anxiety. Debbie Wood couldn't make it today. She's actually at an Earth Day event. So she is planning other activities as well. Garden tour counts as PKS. As Cindy just mentioned, there's the Deloitte Service Day, Impact Day at Juliet Fowler, and there will be many, many other activities throughout the year. So stay tuned to mark your calendar that Cynthia and her team publishes twice a month, and we will be highlighting activities in there that you all can sign up for. Ask what you can do with other master gardeners. Can you join them? Are they getting PKS hours? Meet some new people, meet some new friends, and share your knowledge. So we'd also encourage you to build your own event, collaborate with community event organizers, take advantage of the resources at our demo gardens. I know Raincatchers has been doing a lot of education events. RB1 does quite a few events, and they would love to have additional hands there, additional knowledge. And we need people to help build kits, and these are demonstration kits that we can take to knowledge sharing events. They might have one on how to propagate seeds. They might have one on vegetables or pollinator plants and which host plants support the different bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, etc. So we need lots and lots of help. Please contact Debbie, and her email here is outreach@dallasmga.com. And I just want to thank you all for your support. Anybody have any questions on PKS or confused about how you can get your hours? We have a fabulous list of plants today, and they are on the floor right here. So y'all have your raffle tickets handy. And I believe that concludes our meeting.